speak so loud that we miss the content of the message. In that way, non-verbal communication becomes a barrier. It becomes a deterrent to our message. It actually has the potential, very powerful, it has the potential to repel people rather than draw people in to yourself, or most importantly, to the message. Your body language, your non-verbals, is a barrier to what you're wanting to say. I remember being at Bible college and we had one of the lecturers, and I won't call him by name, but he had this habit, this non-verbal communication. I'll demonstrate for you. He would be speaking to us, and he would constantly pulling up his pants. And he'd grab hold of his belt buckle and he'd pull it up, and then he'd tuck his shirt, he'd hang his shirt over. And every 5 minutes he'd be pulling up his pants and, doing this thing with his shirt. And it just became so off-putting, became an incredible distraction. He was a wonderful lecturer, had a wonderful heart for people and a wealth of experience. But it got to the point where I had to say to him one day, just in private, I said, I don't know if you know, but, one of your gestures, one of the things that you do when you speak, you pull your pants up all the time. And I said, it's such a distraction, And, he said, I didn't even realize. He said, I know my wife tells me every now and then. I said, look, it'd be great if you could somehow break that habit, because you're saying something, you're communicating, and what you're doing and what you're saying is distracting people from your message. The best advice I could give you right now is this. The best thing you could do is to watch yourself speak. I don't like watching myself. I don't even like listening to myself. I don't know how people listen and watch me, but I don't necessarily like to watch and listen to myself. But I've learned that it's a very important aspect. It's a very important thing to do if you want to develop as a speaker. Not only listen to yourself, but watch yourself. You'll see your non-verbal communication. You'll see how impacting it can be. You'll also see the potential it has to be negative and to be a deterrent from your communication. Watch yourself. The thing is, most people are too kind. Most people, they don't want to offend, and so they won't tell you those things that you do. I grew up in Adelaide, and when I first started speaking, it's just something unique to Adelaide. And what people do is they say "A" after they've said a sentence. How you doing today, A? Oh, what are you up to tomorrow, A? Hey, I saw you the other day in the shops, A. And I took that on board. And, the thing is, when you're on stage, when you're behind that pulpit and you're in front of people, everything is magnified. That's the truth. When the camera's on you, everything is magnified. Right now you're watching me, and all you see is me. There aren't any other distractions. There's no other people that you're looking at, or there's me, there's a slide, and there's my non-verbal communication. So watch yourself. Have a look at yourself. See it as part of your development as a speaker. So awareness is a big thing. Second thing I wanted to talk about is the deliberate use of nonverbal. We accidentally use it, sometimes we're unaware, but nonverbal is a very powerful tool that we can use and intentionally use to add to our presentation, to add to our message. I remember one message, I was speaking on the theme of expectation, and I walked up onto the stage with a saxophone. I didn't say anything. I just put the saxophone on that little stand that saxophones have, and I put it down there. I put the stand down, I put the saxophone, didn't say anything, and then I just said, good morning, everyone. It's wonderful to be with you. And I could just tell that action of putting that saxophone there, putting that prop there, was saying something. I was going to speak on expectation. So I gave it a minute, and then I went back to it and I said, oh, by the way, I brought a friend with me today. Here he is. His name is Expectation. And I knew exactly what I was doing. Having that prop sit there, non-verbal communication. What I was saying to people was, I can play the sax. Now, I can't play the sax. I don't play any instrument at all. But what I was saying was I can play it, and I'm going to play it later on. I created this expectation that I was going to play the sax, and I mean, who doesn't love the sound of the saxophone? Everybody loves that. It's a beautiful sound. It's a beautiful instrument. I can't play it, but I created an expectation. Preaching on expectation, I created that. You know, non-verbal communication. Let me give you some thoughts on some of the non-verbal communication that is very powerful that we can use. Silence is a powerful non-verbal. We call it the power of the pause. I love to use the pause when I'm negotiating. Just pause. Force the other person to say something. Create space that often other people feel they have to fill. We talk with my wife and my girls about the double pause. When you pause, then they pause. And it gets quite funny. But you know, silence, nevertheless, silence is a powerful non-verbal. The story of Job is the classical example of this. When Job has lost everything and his friends come to meet with him, don't they? And it says there, in fact, let's just have a quick look at it. Hopefully I can quickly find the book of Job. Where is that book? It's a big book too, isn't it? Have I gone past it? Ezekiel, Job. No, not Matthew. Job. Go back the other way. I can hear you saying, go back the other way, you clown. Here we are. Job chapter 2. Let me read it to you. It says, when Job's three friends, Eliphaz, Temanite, Bildad, the Shuhite, Zophar, the Namanite, they're wonderful names, aren't they? Heard about all the troubles that he had come upon. They set out from their homes and met together by agreement to go and sympathize with him and comfort him. Notice here the non-verbal communication now. When they saw him from a distance, they could hardly recognize him. They began to weep. Non-verbal communication. They wept aloud. They tore their robes. Non-verbal communication. And they sprinkled dust on their heads. Non-verbal communication. But then they did what I know you know they did, and that they sat on the ground with him for 7 days and 7 nights, and no one said a word to him, because they saw how great his suffering was. It's non-verbal communication. Very powerful tool. Silence. Just to sit with someone. You're saying something. You're saying a whole stack of stuff in that silence. Very powerful. The Psalms are full of Selah. Pause. Muse. Think it through. Let it sink in. You know, Charlie Chaplin was a brilliant communicator. Brilliant. What a lot of people know is that he was actually a brilliant orator. He was a wonderful communicator. But most of us know us for his mime, for his silent movies, and how he communicated so effectively in those movies. There's a lot of ways in which we can use non-verbal communication in our presentations to get a point across, to drive home a message. God bless you. See you next time.